9:20, so we want to be done by 9:50.
Okay.
Is that cool?
That's cool.
Live and direct. Live and direct.
Hello.
What's up, world?
Hey, world. We're going to give everybody a minute to jump in here.
Yeah. And then really give a take on the whole, because I know you already done titled it and everything.
Yeah.
What did you
You know, people tried to decode Black Panther, and I salute them. They did an incredible job with what they had. However, the reason why y'all just now hearing from us, 2 reasons. But we wanted to wait to see what everybody else was going to decode about the movie, so we don't have to come here and reinvent the wheel with you all, right? So we hope that you appreciate us for trying to be strategic, because the breakdown that we have of that movie, to us, is very important.
That's right.
For all spiritual people to know these things. So this is not a movie review. You will not be hearing our personal opinions. You will be hearing things that we have been researching and studying, that we found to be true in the movie.
Indeed.
And the agenda behind the movie, which I haven't heard anybody really talk about.
Right.
So,
it's Hollywood.
Right. So let's heavyweight jam. We got about 30 minutes, really 20, but we're going to try to get through it. That way, if you all have some comments or something, we'll be able to address some of those, okay? So we're going to do that after we give you all the rundown. Okay. So, first of all, Black Panther. It has made more money than pretty much every other movie that has came out for many years.
Especially Marvel.
Especially Marvel.
Any other Marvel series.
Yes. That's huge.
Yeah.
I understand why people are proud about that, you know? Because we really don't get to do this in Hollywood.
Right.
So yes, we get that. That's great. However, the first thing in the movie that they constantly were talking about is the vibranium. And this vibranium is what makes Black Panther, something specific to their genetic coding. Okay. Now, vibranium is actually what you would call the 5th element. Okay, that's what it represents. It represents a higher vibration. The cosmos has a vibration, just as Earth has a vibration.
That's right.
And so vibranium represents what you would say the cosmos is made of. Okay, that's the 5th element. The movie about the 5th element with the white girl with the red hair, right? That's all wrong. The 5th element is connected to darkness, blackness, melanin. Okay, that is what the 5th element is. Carbon-based melanin, not sulfur-based melanin, which is the form of melanin that Caucasians have. Okay, so this specific melanin, this specific vibration, is why Black people have been able to achieve things that many other races haven't, not on the same scale as us. We dominate in everything that we do, especially creativity. This goes all the way back to Africa. This goes back to Egypt. All the ancient civilizations before us, okay? And so that's what the vibranium was really about, okay? So the next thing, Sekhmet. Sekhmet, that is an Egyptian or Kemetic warrior. And at the beginning of the movie, they show the black cats in the tree when he went to talk to his ancestors. And what tripped me out, this was a personal thing. And this kind of gave you all the clue as to some of the experiences that have been happening to me, being an intuitive, prophetic seer and someone who has visions. I started meditating probably like a month before the movie came out. Had nothing to do with the movie. It was personal for me. Okay, on my journey as someone who's wanting to be a teacher or considered a spiritual mother. And so there are things that I'm doing to ensure that whenever I come before you, I'm giving you all something that vibrates with me as truth as much as I can. And I have researched it out and used every tool possible to come to you with clarity. Because we want people to be able to trust us through the journey. Not take what we say and believe it and not research it. But we want you all to be able to see our intention. Okay? So I've been meditating and just practicing having that control over my mind. And in my first meditation, I saw this black panther, this black cat in a tree. And, you know, and I didn't understand and know what it was. But when the movie opened up with this exact same Black Panther that I saw in my dream, I said, wait a minute. So I was meditating and I was kind of seeing something, obviously in another dimension, right? In the unseen realm, wasn't an actual big black cat. And so in the movie, when he went to meet with his ancestors, they were there. Well, this black cat name is Sekhmet. Sekhmet is an ancient warrior goddess. She has the head of a Black Panther and the body of a woman. Now, what this just, all it is speaking in symbology, okay? Sekhmet is considered an energy. This is the energy in which when something needs to be cleansed and war break out. Kind of like the stories we all know about Egypt and Exodus, right, happening. And so that energy that was there, the energy that was there for those people to get free, Sekhmet was considered a warrior. And so what she would do is she would fight for justice. And so this just represents energy. So even if you're the kind of person that you will fight for injustice, then you have this form of energy, right? That you operate in. That's really all that means. We overcomplicate things. It's super simple, okay? She's also a healer as well. Now, at the beginning of the movie, they also showed a shaman. And, you know, I've been practicing healing my body and healing other people. Throughout this process, I have realized that I do come from a lineage of shamans, of people who knew how to cook herbs to heal people.
Facts.
And yeah, that's a whole other story. But we're sticking with Black Panther right now. But I had to give you all those personal points because when the movie opened, the first 2 meditations I do in my whole life, and the movie opens with those 2 meditations. Come on, y'all. I had to add that in here because I was like, it has to be a reason for this.
Right.
So that's why we are sharing that part. Okay. So this lets you know that whatever I tapped into meditating, Hollywood is tapping into that as well, right? And so even though a lot of us don't consider ourselves quantum physicists or metaphysicians or, you know, someone who knows the cosmos really well or understand all of the physics of Earth and the universe, we may not be into that, but Hollywood is well into that and in a very esoteric, occultic way.
That's on everything. That's on all media, from commercials, movies, shows, you name it.
You can see it.
It's all in the theme of it. So yeah.
So I would go as far to say as that Hollywood actually, through the occult practices, are able to eavesdrop. This manifests in stealing scripts, tapping phones, listening to phone calls, all of these things to put a movie together. And I know that seems like I'm reaching, but to some people, but you know, but they do things like this. And even though a lot of these things are unfathomable to the typical human mind, this is how they operate. And so for me to have had my first meditation and saw exactly what they showed in the beginning of the movie, that shows that that's a particular thought or particular frequency or vibration, and they're able to tap into that. It would be the same way if a lot of children were having nightmares about Slender Man, right? And then before anybody really knows about it, they make a movie about Slender Man. It's the same thing. It's just tapping into that frequency of what that group of people is experiencing or thinking. So don't think that they won't go that far to make sure, because we are the #1 consumers in America. And so this movie had us in it because guess what? They were going to get some money from us, and they did. They did. Okay, so in the movie, Oakland in the movie was specific. There was Oakland and Wakanda. And so Oakland is where Killmonger, a little bit of spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but he was from Oakland. Why is this significant? This is significant because there are some scriptures that we shared with you all about oak trees a few months ago. And one of the scriptures, this is what it says. It says, "Provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor." That's huge. And so the reason they use Oakland, because they know that there's something specific about us with our connection with the Creator, the source of all things. And an oak tree is considered to be a fairly sturdy, strong tree.
Right.
And so as humans, we are always compared to trees throughout history because basically you are a tree. Right. When we were in church, we believed that we had been grafted into the tree, right? And Jesus was the branch, right? So that's why the tree thing has been used all throughout history, including the Bible, to describe us. Your family tree. So this even leads me to believe that the tree of good and evil probably very well could have been Adam and Eve's ability to think on a wavelength that they probably weren't supposed to. If we're just going with that story that we were told about that. And so that's why I wanted to mention that. That's why they use Oakland. Now, it also says, and that's Isaiah, okay? The book of Isaiah, chapter 2 is where that came from. It also says, he will take his stand against all the cedars of Lebanon, against the proud and self-exalting, and these are characteristics of Killmonger, and against all the oaks of Bashan. So this was the revelation that we shared with you all when we shared this last. One of my nurses here in Memphis, we were getting a lot of storms and a lot of trees were being torn up, and it wasn't tornadoes, right? And I was wondering why. So one of my nurses said, well, you know, Memphis, because somebody in her family works with trees. She said Memphis has a lot of cedar oak trees, but these trees have the weakest roots. And because the roots are so weak, when the storms come, that's why these trees are the ones that have been being uprooted. Now, this is a natural manifestation of what's happening spiritually right now. A lot of people are being uprooted from their faith, belief system, the religious practices of their family, right?
Because they're breaking traditions. Because they're breaking traditions.
You know, even with the church and everything, people are leaving church and being uprooted from church, and a lot of people grew up in church. And so this is what happens. We have become very prideful in just being in America and practicing what we were told was the correct thing to practice. We were prideful about it. I don't know if you remember, but I remember we was both prideful. Very spiritually prideful. And also, but we were weak rooted and will not be able to withstand storms. And once you get so far in religion, you realize, you know what? I'm not withstanding storms. Something is wrong here. And that's what drives you to learn more about spirituality and what your journey is. Okay? So that's why they use Oakland. That was the symbology behind Oakland. Did I leave anything out? Okay. Okay. So he says, now this is the next scene in the movie, where the father, the ancestor who had passed on, he went to visit, and he said to him that he looked healthy. Was it the ancestor or was it the uncle? It was one of the older male characters.
When he visited him?
Yeah, he said he looked healthy. Okay, and so when he said he looked healthy, he said, thanks to Bassett for you looking healthy. Thanks to Bassett. Well, that's confirmation of the healing that I've been trying to receive through meditation and changing what I eat and using natural things and being able to heal other people. That was confirmation that journey is going to prosper. In me learning these things and applying all of these tools. And so the reason I say that, because Bassett and Sekhmet are actually one and the same. Okay, and it was just recreated over time. Okay, and so that was just another thing that lined up that blew me away. And so for him to say you look healthy, that says to me, for all of us, that if we're having health issues, even if it's just something spiritual or depression, healing is available. And even though we're not in church, and so we're not expecting Jesus' blood to heal us, healing can be gained many ways. Right? And so that was just confirmation for me that it's time for Black people to start receiving some healing, some real healing, and not be afraid to use herbs or use crystals to help you focus and concentrate or to meditate. It's nothing wrong with using those things.
Meditation brings healing.
It does.
Natural medicines bring healing.
That's for sure.
So that's why I was laughing. Because it's funny, you know.
Because meditation is medication.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay. So, all right. So, also in that movie, with them, I hope you all saw this movie already, so you really know where we're coming from. But if you hadn't, that's okay. But in the movie, what was happening was we were going back to the old ways of doing things. And I believe that the more we get back to the way our ancestors truly worshiped, the better off we'll be, and we'll be able to get out of the condition we are in right now.
Well, see, that's where our roots come from.
Right.
And so when you're talking about dealing with things, matters of truth and matters of what's right, sometimes we want to say, because what we've been taught already, once we've been Americanized in terms of religion, we were taught that what our ancestors did was wrong. It was evil. Well, when you start really doing a lot of the studying and research behind it, you'll really find out that that's true spiritualism, as well as that's really what's the power, where the power is, because
they have the wisdom. They have the wisdom. They have the experience, right? They're in our bloodline. And this is how we know that's important. Because even in the Bible, for many years, when we would pray, it was something special about acknowledging and honoring Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So for those of you who are splitting hairs on some of these things, even Jesus, right?
That's still ancestral.
That's somebody who passed on, who supposedly we are in the blood lineage of. So he would be an ancestor.
Right.
Okay. So
but we forget about our actual
ancestors. Right. Yeah. And so it's almost like, okay, now you can use these ancestors right here. Abraham, Isaac, you know what? He's the father of faith. That's your ancestor. David, he slayed Goliath. That's your ancestor. We found pride in these things.
That's right.
But with the ancestors, you really know that your grandmother's mother's mother, your grandmother's mother, your grandmother, right? For some reason, we feel that we should completely disconnect from them because they've left their temple.
But they try to say that that's necromancy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But it would be necromancy for any person who has died.
So Jesus,
which we are reliving,
Abraham and
or
Isaac
using. Exactly.
So it would be the same thing.
It's the
like
same.
It's like you got all of those ancient individuals that we're taught to connect to through religion, and then you just skip over everybody else
that's connected to you in actuality. That's double-mindedness. That's confusion. And we know who the author of confusion is, and it most certainly is not an author that we want to keep reading his book, which is what the whole journey on this channel is about. Okay? So the point, and I know a lot of you all are probably scratching your head, disagreeing. Some of you all are probably a little curious and probably want to do a little research yourself in what we're saying. But please research this. Yes, it's not okay for someone to tell us these ancestors right here, they good. You know, look to them for guidance. Use what they went through in their life for guidance, blah, 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 blah. You can even use their name in prayer and say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But the ones that you know that passed on, the grandmother who raised you when your mother went around, the grandfather who taught you how to hunt and how to fish, something that may bless you today or where we're going. Oh, no, don't acknowledge them. That's demonic. That's necromancy. But then on the other hand, they say to us, well, you know, you live for eternity. You know, you leave the body, but the soul is eternal. Dies. So it's like, which is it? Right. Are they dead or are they not dead? You're telling me not to have no dealings with them because they dead, but now you're telling me there's a heaven and hell and we live for eternity. So it has to be one or the other. And so being brave enough to ask those questions leads you to answers if that's what you desire. If you do not desire truth, then you're not going to ask the questions. Right. And if you do, you're definitely not going to research it from a non-biased, neutral perspective to get the truth from it.
And then if you stumble across it because you wasn't looking for it, a lot of times you just kind of shrug it off. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's what we did for many years. It took a long time for these hard heads to get here.
Yeah, we thought a lot of stuff was the money.
Yeah.
That's of the devil.
Everything.
Yes.
And another thing. So the point in saying, and this was a revelation that came to me watching this. The revelation was, you will not win spiritual warfare with the tools you are currently using. The only way to truly survive is by winning with the wisdom of your actual ancestors. The spirituality of your actual ancestors. That's how you will win the war. My people, we have been de-weaponized. When our language was taken away from us, our culture was taken away from us, all of our beliefs, our fundamental foundations of everything that connected us to the Creator, that was taken away from us. And so now we're working with what we were given. We're doing the best we can. We became Hebrew Israelites from Christianity because we were doing the best we could with what we had.
That's right.
But my people, we have access to so much more now. Let's not scoff at the access that we have been blessed with for knowledge to go forth to the ends of the earth. Let's use that, and let's use it responsibly, making sure that we're studying from a non-biased perspective.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to skip past the ancestor part now. You might have to rewind this later if you go study it, because we say it a lot. Okay, so in the movie, there was an African mask that, what was his name? Killmonger. They broke into a museum.
Right.
Okay. And the museum basically was saying, you know, you can't take the mask out.
Right.
You know.
Because it's powerful.
And so he said, no. He said, actually, this mask belonged to my ancestors. It don't belong to you. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off your hands because that belongs to me and it was stolen from my people. I agree with that. I so agree with that. But let me tell you the decode, and then I'm going to let you jump in.
Go ahead. No.
So the decode of that was confirmation on what we just said to you. We didn't go into watching this movie with any preconceived notions.
Right.
What we said to you was getting back to the roots. Because, see, our roots are weak because we're trying to work with soil that we're giving by another culture and another race of people. And their spirituality just don't work for us.
We can't disregard everything that we've learned because it has gotten us to this place. But you just cannot fail to understand that what we were given, it was given by those that hated us and oppressed us. Our ancestors had to see it as a better way than what they were experiencing. Yes. So we can't fault them for being under so much oppression. Yeah. And then the same ones that was oppressing them gave them a pass because you accepted my teachings or you accepted these principles. You believed in my God. So, you know, we've experienced that and we've been through that for so long that it does become hard to accept anything that's out of that paradigm. So, you know.
And this goes back to Oakland and the weak roots. This is why the roots are weak. That's why they use the Oakland. Y'all better believe Hollywood is strategic about what they do concerning our people.
And they know.
And they know. Yeah. So that African mask, in history, if you're a history buff, in history, these masks were created a lot of times for them to do reenactments of different stories and things that happened in the world. Sometimes these masks were used just as a predator attacking an animal, and so the animal puffs itself up. Or the animal, you know, this is just a way of warfare, right? And so the mask, that's a tool. That's something that can be used for warfare, but in an ancient way, okay? And so I hope that makes sense to you.
That those masks ward off evil.
Right. Yeah. Right. And yeah, the mask's supposed to ward off evil. So again, here we are. Here's a tool that was used by our ancestors, which worked, but we don't use it. because we're told it's evil. So we don't want anything to do with any tribal artwork, tribal mask in the house, even if it's just decorations. It's been demonized, and so that is so clever. It is clever to say, you know what, their ancestors, we had guns, and we had the Bible that we had done, we subscribed to, and which tells them to be subservient. The slaves are to be subservient to their masters in the New Testament. We got all of that. We're armed, but why do they keep beating us? The reason why our ancestors, not the ones brought over here for slavery, before that, the reason why they kept beating them was because of these spiritual practices that they used, which were based on creation, spirituality, science, and mathematics. All of these things were tested. That's why the pyramids are built the way they are. They understood the cosmos and didn't have rockets to go out there. Okay, this is just how genius our lineage is of ancient ancestors. And so we don't deal with anything that our ancestors dealt with because we've been told is evil, right? That's so clever. It's clever for them to say, we don't know how to stop them, but you know what? Let's tell them that all of the things their ancestors used, which actually worked in warfare spiritually against us, let's tell them those things are demonic. And then we would have to never worry about that again. Are y'all getting this? See, Hollywood casts spells.
Yes,
they cast spells. You have to fight fire with fire. So Hollywood uses occult knowledge or metaphysics. So that's just learning science, learning math, and learning how to apply those things in a way that can help you and your people. Now, we're not going to go into no details. We're not trying to tell y'all to do something that you're probably uncomfortable doing. All we're saying is this movie clearly displayed that our ancestors had power, and the things that they used for spiritual warfare have been demonized, and so now we are powerless and weak-rooted like the oak tree.
But that's why you have to know yourself. And getting to know yourself is getting to know your ancestors, your ancient ancestors. So definitely, y'all, continue to seek to know thyself.
Yes, please keep seeking. Okay, this was the next thing in the movie. So in the movie, you think about it, how do most black people feel about serpents, right? We think snakes are just the most evil thing ever. Okay, so, but if you get sick and you call 911, an ambulance is going to come pick you up, and it has two serpents on the back of it.
It does. Anything medical, anything medical in this country. Y'all know it got the two intertwining serpents on it. And it's been in our face. It's been in forever.
And most of us have probably used it one time or another. Even if you don't take medication, never taken medication, you had a family member who did or a child who needed it and you get administered to them. So that is us being aligned and in support of something with serpents on it. We know it's there for a reason, right? We have no knowledge of the serpents, don't really know the truth of why it's there. We just know that it's evil, been told that it's evil, and so we did the best we could to discern that symbol with what we had. But we trust our loved ones with people who use this as their symbol. Something wrong there. This is the backwards thinking, the double-mindedness, the chaotic thinking that we're talking about, which led us to this place to do these videos on this channel. Now, we know that these serpents, that is gnosis, is knowledge. That's what the serpent represents, okay? This is why the medical field uses this. And a lot of times we trust them. If you're having a heart attack, you're probably going to trust the man with the serpent sewed on his white lab coat, right, to save you. But then we turn around and say the serpent wrong, but then we'll see Moses use the serpent, and we'll say, oh, the serpent good right there, but then somebody else uses it, oh, the serpent is wrong again. So it's just confusion, and these things were confusing to me and Ernest for a really long time. So we're saying that to say this. Look at the ancient history of the serpent. Serpent is simply a symbol for knowledge, wisdom, specifically something that is not attained easily, that most people don't know about. Another word for serpent is nagas, okay? And these serpents, you also see them on Pharaoh's crown, right? And we know that Moses' staff, right? And we all, if you all watched the last video, you know that Tutmos from ancient Egypt is really Moses. That's who that story is about. The Moses story is about Tutmos, okay? So a whole lot of information out about that if you're interested in doing your own historical research to that fact. So we just wanted to mention that about the serpents to give you all a frame of reference for this movie and how deep it was and what they were doing. Okay, so here's a revelation that came to me that I have to share with you all. And the reason why I'm doing most of the talking, because I wrote most of this, and my editing is not always the best. So.
Well, she's always on point.
Oh.
Thank you, source.
Yeah. So this revelation was huge, y'all. Listen to this. White people had all of us, many today, doing their rituals. This includes going to church, going to the club, and religion. Okay? Clubs is their ritual. We learned that in American culture. I know some of you say, no, we love music and we used to get together and play music and dance. No, club, that's a whole different thing. That is an American cultural thing taught to us, right? That we learned. So that is a ritual, okay? They control the music. They glorify drugs and alcohol, but they demonize the use of herbs, which were used by our ancestors, sometimes to transcend to another plane. To help the village or the tribe. Sometimes they would use ayahuasca, Syrian rue, just to help them tap into that spiritual part of their mind to make decisions.
Or wild tobacco.
Right.
Things of that nature.
And so that's demonized.
The natives, right. The natives, they use those methods. Yeah. And when we look at entertainment and when we look at music and things like that, movies, we see that they have no problem with continually allowing the perpetuation of drug abuse, and all of the negative side of it. They continue to pump that out. They let that out. But in regards to somebody speaking the truth about healing the mind, healing the body, healing the soul, that's no. That don't sell, and it's not popular. But the truth of the matter is, it's crucially and vitally important to us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean,
even with marijuana, and I'm not saying y'all should go roll a blunt, but this is what I am saying.
No.
In church and in religion, that was highly frowned upon. Even any use of any type of spirits or wine or liquor or rum or gin, that was highly demonized. Even though Jesus himself made wine and he did it more than once. So obviously he either liked wine or his folks liked wine. Just like a lot of ours like to drink. But our point in saying this is, if you're going to use those things as a spiritual tool, right, to help you focus and connect and remove a lot of yourself from it to make big decisions.
Your conscience.
That's no different than when you go to the pharmacy and pick up a prescription. Sometimes a lot of those things do alter your focus. They alter your mind. They alter your dreams.
Yes.
And so this is still the same thing. But we demonize the one that our ancestors did, but we don't demonize Walgreens and CVS, which is owned by white people, ran by white people. So again, here we are, and we've been programmed to demonize anything our people do in history that worked and accept what they say work. Now, I know some of you will say, well, no, I'm not down with pharmacia either. I don't do the medications, doctors, blah, 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 blah. I hear you, and that's great. However, as I said again, if you have a heart attack, somebody around you, most likely you're going to look to a hospital or doctors to help you. And again, now you're being double-minded and hypocritical, because if you trust them with the knowledge they have, and a lot of times they're using herbs that have been synthesized and genetically modified, right? And mixed with other things in a laboratory, you trust that. That's a form of pharmacia, pharmacology. That's a form of shamanism. You could say that's a form of sorcery, right? But your ancestors, when they do it and it worked, and you're like, I don't want nothing to do with that, it's demonic. So once again, they have de-weaponized us by demonizing anything our ancestors did that actually worked.
And in essence, it makes us hypocrites.
Yeah.
Because we need to see it for what it is, that it all comes from the same thing.
Yeah.
And when somebody tell you to stay away from something, just, I'm not saying step or walk into it blindly, but at least do an investigation to see if those individuals that are telling you not to do something, do they have an agenda behind telling you not to do something?
Right.
Is there a reason why they have kept this knowledge from us?
Right.
Of course it is.
And it's up to us to search it out.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we have to study.
You're not going to empower your enemy.
That's right. That's right. You would
Who
be a
does
fool
that?
to empower your enemy.
Yeah, who does that?
We do.
Yeah. No, we be the gullible ones to think, oh,
Right.
our enemy empowers us.
And that's us empowering our enemy.
No.
So again, all indoctrination in school, churches, religions, clubs, mostly everything that our lives have been built of, in the foundations at least, all of those things are forms of rituals. They are. They just are.
Yeah.
And we've all participated, whether willingly or unwillingly, conscious or unconscious.
Yeah.
It has been done, and so we have to be accountable and learn to know thyself. See yourself in the mirror and be real with yourself and say, you know what? I have participated in those things. Yes, I have. I participated in those things. But
I didn't know.
And I didn't know. But when my ancestors do it, I say it's Satan. It's demonic. So just looking at that reality, that's all I want you all to do is look deeper within the scheme of things. Okay? Now, those sorceries that we name, now in the music industry, they use frequencies, right, to do this. And so they use 440. In the music industry, no one can release an album unless that album is 440 hertz. Okay? But 432 hertz, sometimes 428, depending on binaural beats and all of that, how they construct that. But those frequencies are frequencies that are healthy, okay? 440 has been known to cause disease.
Repeat that one more time.
432 hertz frequency is known to be a frequency that aids in health and being healthy. I actually use binaural beats myself to help heal my body. It's because sound frequency is vibration. We are energy. So you apply the correct frequency, the correct vibration with the energy within us, and you can get a desired result. So again, this is the music. It's a ritual. They've been casting these things over us our whole lives. Now they're using Gwen towers, cell phone towers, and Wi-Fi. All of those electromagnetic field devices are affecting our electromagnetic field, which means they are affecting the frequency of our heart as it pumps, the frequency of your mind as you think.
That's right.
So, and even controlling your words as you speak, because they are tapping into something that many of us have not studied, because we think that it's demonic.
And then we bombarded with with the attacks through the food too. And so then it just makes your complete being off balance.
Yeah.
There's always some type of imbalance. Hence the reason why we have these health issues or this health issue or this mental issue. Because it's an imbalance. You know, so know that we are under attack.
For sure. Now, these particular frequencies that I mentioned to you, they are killing us with these frequencies, okay? These are ritualistic killings done with these frequencies, and it's killing us every day. Most everybody in my family died from cancer, some form of cancer. So we're being manipulated in many different ways. And so while they're killing us with their own rituals they created, we're demonizing our ancestors' rituals. Even let's do ancient Egypt. Man, I said they was the scum of the earth. The only thing good they had ever did was hieroglyphs and mummifying, right, and pyramids. That was it. And I was just like, man, that's something is wrong there. Why do I feel so strongly like that about those people? But I haven't studied the history of those people from their perspective, not the whitewashed history we were given in school.
Right.
And so this is just not having wisdom. But you know, you have to realize that what you're doing is not wise, and change it. Right. Okay? And again, that's the Naga or wisdom serpent, which is why we call each other niggas. Niggas came from Nagas, okay? So that's a little history around that word. And it's not a bad word for us to use it. You know, right?
Well, you know, I guess
people say it's a bad word, but it's not bad. It was used by bad people, but the word did not originate with white people during slavery. The word originated with us, people who were considered wise. We were called Nagas. Okay, all right. So let me skip on down. So now channeling. Let's talk about channeling. Now we channel the Holy Spirit all throughout church and everything. We learned about channeling. Channeling, yes, channeling. Whenever you allow another spirit that's not your own to enter you, to influence the way you think, to influence the way you're speaking, to even influence what you're doing, that is a form of channeling. I would allow myself to be a medium for the Holy Spirit to speak to me, move me, or show me something, or help me understand something. Am I telling the truth?
No, you tell the truth. I'm just tripping because, you know, the thought that's coming to me is that they're psychic.
Right.
So whether you were in religion and you channeled the Holy Spirit, you were being psychic.
Yes, you were being a medium.
People would say, no. When you talking about, no, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Yeah, it's true.
Because we've had all of these
yes.
preconceived notions about this and that,
yes.
and, you know, thinking,
yeah.
if it would, you know, if it wasn't taught to us through the lens of Christianity, 'cause
yes.
that's where we come from.
Yes.
If it wasn't taught through that lens, everything else is like, oh, that's that other stuff, or that's demonic, or that's
right.
that's darkness, and
right. And you know, so people, this just came to us from the desire to see ourselves for who we really were, and that's being hypocritical. Sometimes we wanted to see that, and so whenever you have the desire for truth, especially within yourself, the Creator gonna make sure He show it to you. He is not gonna ever not answer that prayer. Okay. So that is channeling, people. Okay, that's channeling. Let it sink in. Took me a few weeks.
Yeah, it took a while.
I'm still struggling a little bit with that.
The word,
right.
though, it's just the word.
But it's just
some type of
and
negative.
it's just the frequency.
Yeah,
it's
channeling.
just switching the channel.
No, why did you say that? Yeah.
I had to throw that one in there. Like I said, we wanted to give you all the decode you ain't heard nowhere else, you know, and that's exactly what happened. It wasn't intentional. I was just taking notes in the movie. Okay. So my point in talking about channeling and the Holy Spirit, which many of us have allowed this spirit to live in us, right? Okay.
You're supposed to.
Right. If you believe. So we are disconnected from our ancestors and the power they hold while we cling to the ancestors in the made-up, stolen Bible stories, plagiarized Bible stories. I'm talking about the ones that did not originate with the Torah, okay? There are stories in there that did not, they're much older. There are stories much older than the Torah. This has been proven from both sides. So this is not information coming from one sect of people.
Right.
This is just researchers,
right.
Both sides, yes. This story was from this year, this story was from that year. And there's plenty of timelines you can pull up. But this is our point in saying that we're not here to discuss that right now about which stories were taken from an older story. Our point in saying that is we allow ourselves to be heavily, our souls to be tied to these people we were told were our ancestors while we are disconnected from our own. And in the movie, what was considered to be the anti-hero, Killmonger in the movie, he represented this. He represented a lot of us. He represented the person who wants absolutely nothing to do with his ancestors for no reason, and he is willing to die and to not fool with them, right? And so he represents that ideology.
He wanted to kill that whole notion.
Yes, he did. And so that's us. That's us. We don't want anything to do with our actual ancestors, even the ones that we knew that passed on. We don't want nothing to do with them, right? And so that's significant, and I think that's that they captured that in the movie perfectly. And so this means that we have been again de-weaponized by not having honor and not acknowledging that because of our ancestors, their blood is flowing through my veins right now. And so that's hurtful. And knowing that we live for eternity and we simply leave the body, how do you think you feel if you died and you realize that even though you're not in a physical body, you're still very much alive? You're actually more alive now than you were in a physical body because you're not bound by a physical body. You're no longer bound by the time and space that control the physical body, right? Let's just say you're in that situation and you are able to feel your ancestors, your children, your grandchildren, and you can feel that they want nothing to do with you because they've been told by their oppressors that having any dealings with you is evil. And let's just say, you say, you know what? I grew up in that same teaching, and so I understand why they want nothing to do with me. So I'll just try to connect with her while she's asleep, maybe in a dream. Well, guess what? You're probably going to wake up and rebuke it. you're probably going to say that it was the devil trying to trick you in your dream. Now, imagine that you on the opposite end. Imagine that it's you just wanting to reach out to your children and let them know we really do live for eternity, children. So be very careful about the decisions that you're making in life.
Exactly.
Because it follows you here.
Exactly.
That's you. That's all you're trying to do is get that message to those that you love who are still here. And to hear them saying things like, girl, that dream, I rebuked that dream. That was the devil. That's hurtful. That would hurt a lot. And this is why we have been de-weaponized, okay? And if you notice, even a lot of white Christians, they acknowledge their ancestors for sure. You go to their homes, they got their pictures everywhere. They talk about them like they're still alive. They do memorials for them. They do things in honor of them. They plant trees in honor of them. They talk to the trees. I've watched TV shows and they were Christians and saw them doing that. So I'm just saying, we're one of the only races who don't want anything to do with our ancestors on the earth.
That's right.
And if you think that you're the only race who ignore your ancestors, then you're being spiritually prideful and saying, oh, it's just because we're special. Yeah, we are the only ones who do that, but it's because we're special and we know better. We got more wisdom than every other culture, every other race on earth. From the beginning of time to the end, we've got it right and they all have it wrong. Again, this is the spiritual pride. And it blinds us. And this same pride had the people of Wakanda blinded. They were blinded by their pride, just like Killmonger was blinded by his own pride. Okay? But from two different angles. Okay? Now, the war between us, that's a real thing, and that's still happening. They did make sure that they put this in the movie, but the war happening between us, they were fighting each other and killing each other in the movie. Right? Even Black Panther had to fight Killmonger twice, right? And they were fighting unto the death, okay? This is what you see happening in Memphis, First 48, Chicago, Chirac. We see this happening. We murder our own people, our children, not even just our children, people our age and older experience these things, but we fight each other. And we constantly war with each other, just like we did in the movie. We do that now. And when they put that in front of you, that's them making sure that this form of predictive programming stays ever present in front of you. So your subconscious is being impacted. Your children are being impacted.
That's right.
And it just keeps the cycle of the curse going on and on. So in the slave days, they would have black men fight each other as well, and they called them mandingos. And they made a lot of money off of watching them fight each other, right? And so my point in that is that's still the same agenda to make us war with each other. Now, here come the big one. Here it come. I'm probably finna, we might lose 10 more people. The big one is, with us warring with each other like that, when you go out on the streets, y'all got to be honest about this. And we love our Hebrew sisters and brothers, just like anybody else. But when you see them wearing their flags, wearing their colors, posted on whatever block or neighborhood they're posted on, you better believe they're not finna let you come and stand where they stand and teach nothing. So that right there, there's a spirit of division. There's a spirit of no unity there, okay? If you watch them, it is very gang-like behavior in the Hebrew Israelite movement. Now, we saw this for years and didn't acknowledge it because that was the frequency we were on at the time. That resonated with us. That whole movement gave us an identity as people, melanated people. And so we felt good about that. But that was a necessary step in this journey that we have embarked on of actually finding the truth. Okay? We had to go through that part. It's because we had to be able to see ourselves as ourselves.
Right.
Okay?
So that brings the point of being unified. Despite all of the differences, learn to see the similarities and build on the similarities, because we all different. We work together. We are one, but we're so different. So we don't harp on our differences with each other. We build on the like-minded things, the similarities. We learn how to work through our differences.
That's right.
Because we realize that we're all different. And so whether from one group to the next, be unified instead of being divided.
That's right. That's right.
Because I can learn from you just like you can learn from me.
Yeah. And you could tell in this scene that they really spent a lot of time and money doing those particular scenes.
Making sure they build it up.
That's trauma. Yep. That's post-traumatic slave trauma syndrome. Yep. Okay? Yep. Check out Miss Judy, I think her name is, and she talks about that. Judy DeCode. Okay? Check her out. And she talks about this. And watching that broke my heart. You know why? I'm used to seeing the Crips and the Bloods not get along. The GDs and the VLs. I'm used to seeing that. But to see, oh my goodness, my Hebrew Israelite sisters and brothers look very much the same. Okay, so what is the common denominator here? Well, the division. The territorial, right. The aggression, the amount of aggression they use with each other and with other people.
And it's solely based on some ideology. Our beliefs versus your beliefs. Our beliefs are right. All other beliefs are wrong.
Yeah.
No.
That's. No. Y'all, let me say something.
This universe is too.
I'm telling you. Let me.
We don't know everything.
We don't.
You know what I'm saying?
And we're still learning.
Yeah, and to be like you got a monopoly on source, that ain't true either.
Especially if the only information you're willing to use is what you feel is right because of what you've been told or taught. You cannot go into researching and studying that way.
Right.
Any successful researcher, anybody who's went to school, and they'll tell you to be a good researcher. Albert Einstein talked about it. There are many, many quotes, and they talk about going into it with a neutral mind so that you can actually attain the knowledge and wisdom and the information which you are seeking for the truth.
That's right.
And so it was really hard for us to let go of the Hebrew Israelite movement because of that. But after watching this movie, it was so confirmed inside of us that something is wrong there. And instead of us focusing on what's right and trying to push that message, let's dissect what's wrong. Let's take this before the Creator and have Him explain, teach us, and show us so that we're able to move forward corrected and not move forward in error and arrogance and spiritual pride because we refuse to see anything any other way.
Right.
You can't have wisdom unless you humble your knowledge to be corrected.
You can't get wisdom closed-minded. It's just.
And what confirmed this even more was how the men and women in the movie were also very divided. And we're going to get deeper into that in just a moment. But I want to read to you what I wrote because it captures exactly how I was feeling in the moment. And the revelation, anybody who's seeking truth, you have to feel something when I read this to you.
Be mindful of time.
Okay. Yeah, because we had 45 minutes. Black men noticed he showed mercy in the movie. Okay, Black Panther, he showed mercy. And so the black man himself, we need to show each other more mercy. If you happen to still be in the Hebrew Israelite frequency in your belief system, I would say start praying that they become merciful, at least with each other. It looks really bad for us to be claiming to be the chosen people, but we're still displaying very gang-related activity. That looks so bad on us around the whole world. And if anything turned people away from true spirituality, it would be exactly what I just explained to you.
Right.
There is nothing spiritual about any of the things that we have mentioned here in the characteristics that are displayed right now. So black men, that's a note, women too, to learn to have some mercy and humility with each other. Okay? Now, he, like I said, he showed his enemy mercy. Okay, and after that, they weren't even enemies anymore, you know? So we can change things one by one, how we treat each other.
That's right.
So that's a word we would like for you all to learn, to live. Live the word mercy. Live the word humility. Okay, so we are of the same ancestry. Okay, here we go. Hebrew Israelites, they caused disunity by separating themselves from the African or the son of Ham, as they say, as we used to say. But that's still the mindset of a gang affiliated person. That mindset to say, okay, we have a whole lot of similarities. Yes, I know that every human on this earth originated from Africa. It started with us. But we're still different because Noah had 3 different sons, and his sons were the beginning of a different lineage, right? That's still the same mindset where you're saying, no, I can't have unity with you, even though we come from the same origin from day one, okay? Because all the 3 Noah's sons had the same mom and daddy, which means the origin in the beginning was the same. It don't matter what happened after that when they split up, and some people say their skin color began to change and genetic mutations. That don't matter. What matters is always go far back as you can. Right. We're just using this for an example right now. So that disunity, that's disunity. And I hate that I was telling people that and spewing that out so much, because yes, we may be a little different. But to say because there are different genetic variations, but to also say, well, we all originated from the same place, that's confusion. That's double-mindedness again. And so all we're saying is we acknowledge the fact that the people of Africa, the people of Egypt, the people of what they call the Middle East, the dark races that lived in Europe and Switzerland and were kings and queens there, well, those people, their blood is in our veins as well, and we're in theirs, because we all came from the same origin. There are some races and some blood types, like Rh negative, which people say comes from the rhesus monkey, and it's not actually of mankind origin. That's a whole other video, and we will definitely eventually jump on those topics. So to push on through this, this separating, this is no unity, okay? So now they wear purple. They a lot of times, a lot of Hebrew Israelites wear purple, and purple, and in the movie they wore purple as well. Okay, they wore purple in the movie as well. Well, purple, when it hit me, I understood, is the combination of blue and red. Let me give it to you again. Purple is the combination of North America versus South America. Thus the Civil War, thus the race war that's happening now, and actually our religious spiritual movement, Hebrew Israelite, is perpetuating this exact same energy from the Civil War, the race war, the blue versus red, the Democrats versus the Republicans. See, everything in this land that they do, it really is established on some very dark principles. And that's why the color purple was such a big deal in the movie, as we can see in actual life with gangs and things like that. Also, Northern Egypt and Southern Egypt were at war with each other as well. So this represents the race war, and it is definitely going strong and kicking.
That's right.
Okay, personal thing. Now, my 3rd time meditating, I saw a lotus flower in the meditation. Very beautiful flower, beautiful pun. I didn't understand why I was seeing it. And in the meditation, I just felt moved to pick up the flower, and it had some dew in it. I guess dew or some rain, and I drank it. And when I finished meditating, I was like, why would I pick a flower and drink it, And I didn't get that. And so when I saw the movie, here we go, y'all, this is crazy. But in the movie, they show this particular flower which grows in water, and this flower is what contained the substance vibranium, which is what gave them strength, wisdom, the might, the power. Everything great about them came through this particular flower, okay? And how it interacted with their, when you consume it with their body. So I couldn't help but remember the meditation. I completely forgot about it and thought nothing about it. A lot of time, my visions and dreams and meditations, I see symbols of things, and sometimes I don't write it down. I don't revisit it or nothing. And then you all have mentioned something, or I'll see something, or he'll see something. I'm like, wait, I dreamed about that, or I saw that in a vision. So that was beautiful to me, because that's confirmation as well for me and what my heart wants to do, which is be able to heal people, mind, body, and soul. And so the lotus flower is actually a herb that is used, and it has shown to be very effective. So I will be trying it myself, but I just thought that was mind-blowing right there. Yeah. Now also in
and wasn't that the one that he destroyed once he sat on the throne?
Killmonger got rid of them all, because he didn't want nothing to do with his ancestors, and he didn't want nothing to do with the vibranium and the flower.
Right.
Because that flower gave him the ability to talk to his
with
ancestors.
That's right. It has a spiritual effect.
Yeah.
A more of a spiritual effect, if you want to call it that. But yeah. And so, wow, amazingly, they chose to destroy that.
He didn't like what his ancestors said to him. His ancestors were correcting him about his pride. They were correcting him about how he was wrong for not being in unity with his people and finding another way that wasn't violent. He didn't want to hear any of that.
Right.
So that's why he wanted to destroy it. And again, with us not having anything to do with the spirituality of our ancestors, we are de-weaponizing ourselves for them. They don't have to do the work. They just sit back and watch us do it, like they sit back and watch us kill each other.
And on a deeper level, we're destroying our own heritage.
Yeah.
That's our heritage. That's our ancestry. That we're aiding in destroying, and we're destroying it because we don't even have knowledge of it. We don't know.
And you can't know unless you start to seek knowledge of yourself. Because your ancestors' blood is running through your veins, and it's important. Yep. It's important to understand the curses in your bloodline. Yep. It's important to understand the things that would have been passed down to you but weren't, because we were plucked up and brought over here in slavery.
That's right.
It's important to know, and then what were my people doing, for this? And what I know they had sickness then. What did they do for that?
Right.
And so that's very important, people. But again, it's demonized, so we don't want anything to do with our ancestors. And that led to Killmonger's death. Okay, and it is leading to our death, being disconnected from the spirituality of our ancestors, which practiced for thousands and thousands of years with success. And as soon as we take on this new religion, all of a sudden we're the scum in the earth and can't find our way back to reign as we once did. Well, what's the one common denominator? Well, the older civilizations, they dealt with their own spiritual practices, and we don't. So you see the timeline here? Yep. Once we accepted a new spiritual belief system, we got locked in. We're locked in injustice. There is no getting out. Unless we change our mindsets about the things we're discussing. And I think that is genius for the enemies, the oppressors, to think of that and use that warfare against us in that way. That is genius. Yep. And you probably won't hear any of these things mentioned in any other conscious decoding of that movie. Yep. We can't take the credit for it. It was the creator who gave this to us to give to you. So I ask, don't scoff at what we're saying. Just research it and come to your own conclusions.
This next point is key. It's a good one.
I'll let you explain.
The ancestral plane he went to was just like the place that we can go to in meditation. The same colors. This was one of Cam's meditations, just a note from the meditation. Purple and blue. And they match the crown chakra colors, purple and blue. Also notice how the father and the son were close. They are close. He prides himself off of who his father is. The Black Panther, he took, it was honor to him to acknowledge who his father was. He held that dear. And this is why black men are wounded.
Yes. Because
the father element
yes.
Of most black men is what's missing.
Yes. Yes.
It's been taken away from us like that.
And a lot of us can relate to that.
Yep.
And so that was another wound for us watching that. It's heartbreaking to see that that's another thing that was powerful that we practice, that we no longer hold to be sacred and fight for.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So this was huge, and the trauma is real. Don't think because you're living now today you're good. The trauma of your ancestors, it passed down in your genes, people.
In your DNA.
It's written in your DNA. The DNA is the book of life.
Yeah.
Okay? And it records everything that happens in your lineage.
And real quickly, side note, we thought that, and like what she just alluded to, when you may be in a place right now in your life where, you may not have a relationship with your father. You may have a relationship with your father. But there is a wound there that has been covered and maybe never to be dealt with. And when you have children, for us, especially us men, when we have children, how are you able to, because you've been disconnected from your father, which when you can disconnect it from your father, that there's possibly a disconnect from your grandfather and your great-grandfather. Because why? Knowing my father gives me the access to knowing about my grandfather. Knowing about my grandfather gives me access to knowing about his father. And so it becomes that generational curse if we don't get to the point to where that's a possibility of even healing. Now, we understand in some cases we may never, especially those brothers that have fathers, or those brothers may not be able to reach their fathers. We understand that. But don't think that there was never, that there is a wound. There's not a wound there. That's that's something that's unresolved. And the only way that can be healed is through you personally addressing it.
That's right.
You have to.
You have to.
You
have to seek healing for that.
You have to.
On both ends. And if they happen to be passed on, guess what? That's an ancestor. And just think about this real quick. If your father is passed on and that wound is open for both of you and it never been dealt with, because of what the oppressors have taught us about dealings with ancestors, we're not going to do anything about it. Because guess what? That's demonic. It's necromancy. It's a demon and trying to be my dad, but it's not really my dad. I want nothing to do with it. And so again, this keeps the wound open. And this is so clever. It's so clever for them to say, you know what? Let's just demonize everything their ancestors used that worked. Then we ain't got to worry about them even trying to find out.
That's right.
If there is a different way to change what's happened, what we're doing to them. Sad people. Okay, the next huge thing. In the movie, there was a bar scene, and in this bar scene, there was a black man and a white woman who were from America. They were one of the first ones that they saw when they walked into the bar. And as soon as they seen them, they called them enemies. Okay? Now, that's significant. That's them letting us know that we know that y'all know we all oppressors. We all enemies, right? And we gonna put it right in your face, and ain't absolutely nothing you can do about it. And they didn't do anything to those individuals, even though they acknowledged they were the enemies. So this is predictive programming to see us, to see our fruits, to see our character, to know that we're your oppressor, we're your enemy, but do nothing. That's predictive programming, and they're keeping us in a docile state. We're not saying you should start a war. We're just saying the predictive programming was to do nothing. Acknowledge and discern that this person is your enemy, and then go on about your business and leave it alone. Okay? So this is just some of the agenda that a lot of people missed. Now, there was another agenda in the movie, which was the white savior agenda. Now, this features someone, if you listen to like Frances Cress Welsing, and she talks about, she breaks that down, and I recommend you go back and watch her videos and read the ISIS book that she did, or the lecture, ISIS Papers. It's really good, and it's going to break down that white savior agenda and many things we have mentioned here. But in there was this white guy who was actually a CIA agent, but he saved the black woman who was the girlfriend of the Black Panther. He saved her, actually on more than one occasion. He saved her. And not only did he save her, but this white man who's a CIA agent saved Wakanda by jumping in one of the aircrafts and shooting. He had never done any of this before. And so this is them putting him on a pedestal and glamorizing him and making him look immortal and great, and that he can adapt like this in the nick of time, and he doesn't need to be trained to drive this craft. He could just do it. But a lot of these characteristics are actual characteristics of our people.
That's right.
And so for them to not let anyone in the movie who look like us have that character, but to give it to one of the only white people in the movie with a role, that's the same agenda to keep us in that mindset and on that frequency, people.
You have to know, and you have to remember that everything that you see is a subconscious effect. It speaks to your subconscious. So regardless if your conscious mind is catching it while you're watching this movie, it's going into that subconscious place. Yes, it is. And that's where stuff gets stored.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's the most powerful place, is the subconscious. Way more powerful than the conscious mind. Okay? All right. And so in the movie, there was a lot of fighting going on between the black man, as we mentioned. However, the white man who helped him, the CIA agent, they tried to save him, and Black Panther even took a bullet to save him, okay, for the ex-girlfriend. And so this is just the white savior agenda. This is also, even though he's CIA, even though that means he's anti-you, Killmonger wanted nothing to do with a CIA, didn't want nothing to do with America, to be honest with you. But we're going to let the CIA agent be your savior. I'm not going to even go break down the subliminals within that, because I'm sure you all know. Okay. Now, in
that white man, he took a bullet for
sure
the
did.
sister.
He sure did.
And then, like Cam said, he went on to save Wakanda, help in saving Wakanda.
Yep.
If it wasn't for him,
yes,
because
yes.
he had a
Yes.
very huge
Yes.
responsibility.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So healing doesn't happen with magic, but with technology. That's what we've been told, and what a lot of us believe, that a lot of the techie things that we have is what's helping us to be healthier and healed. Okay? Now,
New advancements.
right.
Yeah.
But metaphysics actually can heal. Okay? However, technology is what's making us sick.
Yes.
So in the movie, they
Yes,
made it
yes,
seem
yes.
that technology was godly like and good and nothing wrong with it and righteous, and this technology is going to help you and protect you, because the people of Wakanda had a lot of technology that they use. But this same technology is giving out frequencies and radiation that is killing us every single day.
That's right.
Technology is destroying families. Technology is destroying our children's ability to communicate, because they're online all the time. And so this, again, is always what they do, duality. They take what's bad and make it good, and take what's good and make it bad. So they demonize the flower that allow him to be able to connect with his spirit self and connect with his ancestors. But they don't demonize the technology, which we know is killing us. So again, it's just really clever on their end to make us not deal with something that worked for thousands and thousands of years.
That's right.
All right. So black people, notice how they made blood family fight each other in the movie. I got to go back to this fighting again, because we fight amongst ourselves, and we claim to be spiritual people. And we got to stop this fighting amongst ourselves, because people are laughing and looking at us and saying, look how pitiful those people are. How can we respect them and believe that they're chosen, and they don't even know how to respect or love themselves, each other?
It's not fruitful at all.
So one is motivated by anger in the movie. One of the blood family members, Killmonger, he was motivated by anger and revenge. But the other one was motivated by keeping his throne. I ain't even got to break that down. Y'all know. Y'all know. People want to keep their throne at any cost. But then you have other people who are motivated by anger and revenge. And so we see that spirit is loose among our community. Let's just be honest about it. Okay. So the war is being waged with weapons by the new black guy who's been Americanized. That's Killmonger, okay? Right. And he believed that the weapons that they had, the good technology and the weapons, was going to be how they were going to win the war,
right?
Okay? And no, wars will not be won with something created by them. Now, they did create the gun. Caucasians definitely created the gun. And that's why in every movie, the gun is viewed as the weapon that you need to have to survive. The only way you can survive, the only way you can protect your family is with this gun that we created. You can't use anything else. Don't touch anything that's ancient. Don't touch anything that was proven to work. Don't touch anything your ancestors used, but you can use this gun. And so him using that gun to liberate and help the people and win this war was just a really good comparison to the mindsets now. But the war will be won with ancient knowledge, with ancient teachings, with the spiritual practices of our ancestors. True spirituality, ancestors being acknowledged, metaphysics being acknowledged and learned and studied. He said the one who sit on the throne is a monster made by them, right? Not the oppressor, who is the white man. Okay, so he's basically taking the blame away from the people, where the blame actually is for a lot of the spiritual conditions of our people. Now, the Civil War, the race war they had on red and blue, again, I mentioned that. Now, this represented Bloods and Crips and Democratic and Republics. Y'all get it, North versus South. Okay. So again, this is just a disunity that they kept pushing, and this is traumatic. And so a lot of us went to see this movie, and because people aren't knowledgeable about the things we're discussing now, they don't even know that this movie had an impact on their soul. that it opened an old wound in their bloodline, that it caused more trauma. So that movie was great for a lot of reasons, but it was traumatic as well. So we must use the energy that comes from pain. This was another revelation. We must use the energy that comes from pain. So the suit that he wore, that suit received strength from anything that hit it, or any wounds or any bullets. And so we must learn to harness strength from the pain right now, and the pain of our ancestors.
That's right.
Is what makes us strong. And instead of trying to get rid of it, we should harness the strength from the pain. And that really spoke to me, because I do experience a lot of pain, and I've been through a lot, just like a lot of you all have as well. So learn to be kinetic. And I find it interesting that the word kinetic is much like the word Kemetic, which means black. And so again, this shows the beauty in having the carbon-based melanin that we have, and the fifth element. Such a blessing. It's a beautiful thing. And you do have abilities just because of your blood lineage and who your ancestors are. You have abilities you hadn't even tapped into yet, because we've been told all of those things were demonic.
That's right.
Clever, 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 clever. But we figured it out. Okay. Yeah, the black man and the white woman, just that's the same thing going over there again. They make sure that, the interracial agenda thing that they're doing. They're kind of whitewashing us out. 3 generations, you can get rid of the melanin. If you all hadn't watched White It Out, the documentary. Okay, so here we go. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the black man who wasn't loved in the movie became evil, Killmonger. He became the thug nigga with no heart. The one who had a 2-parent home and a supportive ex-girlfriend and a sister, which made his suits, was the power behind him, okay? So we must stand behind and beside the men in our lives, ladies, to stop this war that we didn't even create in the first place. And that's what that spoke to me. To stand with our men, whether that's your husband, your father, your son, or uncle, maybe just a brother, because of who you are. We got to learn how to stand beside each other, and behind each other, and willing to be behind them and be support.
That's right.
Okay? Men and women fighting each other all throughout the movie. They kept showing that, and that was traumatic as well, just seeing that, because we know that's how it is.
Right.
And marriage and homes actually working in our community is the worst out of every other race on earth, it seems. Now, at the end of the movie, towards the end of, and I want to say this, right after the war and stuff was happening, one of the guys realized that he was not benefiting anyone by battling with these women who were warriors as well. And so he humbled himself before her, and he bowed before her, because she was able to calm the beast that he was going to use to kill her with. Y'all, this right there was great.
His queen.
Yes. That was his queen, and he acknowledged her as his queen. So, am I missing something about that? So we just need to learn how to not only respect each other and love each other, but be willing to just completely say, you know what, I humbly place myself before you in a position of vulnerability and meekness. Yes, I was trying to kill you. And when I realized, black woman, that you had the ability to tame the beast, which I was using to perpetuate this war, then we can begin healing the black family once we acknowledge those things and accept that. And I have no problems bowing to this man, because he loves me in a way. Why would I be ashamed of that? Why would I think that that's demonic for me to honor him in that way? Our mindsets is the reason why our community is broken. And Hebrew Israelite, we hoped it was the answer, but it wasn't the answer. It's just more perpetuation of the breakup of the family. And you can look at how a lot of the men and the women within the Hebrew Israelite movement are, and it's very similar to what I'm describing now. Okay?
That's right.
I think that's it.
I might need to get the charger. I think that battery's going on.
I know, that's what I'm trying to push on through.
And the ex-girlfriend. Oh,
they never got married. I'll let you hit on
the Black Panther, him and his ex-girlfriend. The way that the movie ended, as exes, y'all. They ended as exes, but as it was leading up to that point, it seemed like that was the perfect time for them to come together. That was the perfect time for them to solidify and reestablish their relationship, because they had actually conquered and overcame. But we see how Hollywood plays that agenda within the black man and black woman relationship to always make it an issue. That's a whole nother subject within itself. But that is a resounding issue in the black community.
Yes.
We never saw them get married.
Yeah.
We didn't see them get married.
No.
Which would have been so awesome.
Yes.
And she was armored on her body.
Yes.
And her heart.
Yes. Did y'all hear that? That's deep. This it's so beautiful how this just was. We got blessed with this.
Yep.
Watching this. So we never saw them get married, and so again they're perpetuating the breakup of the black family, and not being able to see that was just another form of warfare against us. So ladies, try to begin de-armoring your heart and de-armoring yourself. You don't have to be a warrior all the time. We had to become warriors to survive, but that shouldn't cause us to bump heads with our men.
That's right.
And we should begin to learn each other, take down our guards, so that we can get back to what our ancestors laid as a foundation for us.
That's right.
And how to have a family and raise children.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last revelation. The cover of the Black Panther movie has the white man at the top of the pyramid, just like it is on our dollar bill. Now, according to Sister Myra, M-Y-R-A, you can look her up, she explains the eye isn't an Egyptian god like Heru or the Horus. It's actually the European eye overseeing the pyramid, or overseeing us, America, overseeing all of the money and the trade and distribution of the music. I mean,
because they run it.
They run everything.
Yeah.
And so by them putting him on the cover over top of the pyramid, that's making the white man, the CIA agent, the capstone within the movie. And this is an issue, people. You know, they oversee everything that we do. That's the food chain. We're at the bottom of the food chain and they're at the top. And they made sure to reflect that on the cover of the movie. And I also wanted to add this. The CIA agent was with the black people, with Wakanda, and he was with them, making sure that they didn't use any of their magic or any of their weapons against them. Okay?
Against
Go back
America.
and watch the movie. He made sure that it wasn't going to be no issue with them in America.
Right.
So y'all see the subliminal there? That's okay. If you do begin understanding these things and tapping into these powers spiritually, don't use it against us.
Exactly.
We your friend.
Exactly.
We saved you, your land, and we saved your woman.
That's how it, yes. That's
and
it.
That is predictive programming at its finest, and they are good at it. They are very good at programming of the mind and the occult, because they have studied it for a very long time. But guess what? Most of the knowledge that they have perverted and used against us was knowledge that came from our ancestors and had been plagiarized and taken and given to us a whole different way. It had been remixed in a way where it didn't have power anymore. So what we're saying to you people, that this movie shows that, and you might want to go back and watch the movie again now that you saw it was decoded, so maybe you can get some of your own revelations and maybe even be taken much deeper than what we were shown. We're not here to act like we know it all, but we're here to learn together in this journey.
That's right.
So comment and tell us what you think about this. You know, it's a few other things we could hit on, but you know, I just want to say that Killmonger, he was basically reared up in a European world, which is called America. He had them destroy all of the magical vibranium because he didn't want a connection with his ancestors, just like us. This is another way they disconnected us from the power behind our cultural, spiritual practices.
That's right.
He thought the weapons would access power in America, but actually the ancient rituals and magic and spirituality of our ancestors are the only weapon, the only way this war can be won spiritually. One last thing after the recap. Stan Lee, he clearly has a racist agenda. We've named at least 4 agendas in this movie alone. He made a whole lot of money off of Black Panther. And the psyops against the black families in the movie, it wasn't acknowledged by most people who decoded the movie and did these breakdowns. So we wanted to make sure we mentioned that. Please comment, tell us what you think. I I know it was a lot. It took 1 hour and 23 minutes to get through everything, and I probably could still give you a whole lot more, but I want to give you all a basic foundation so you all can maybe watch it again and discern for yourself and do some research. For those of you who are interested in some of the information that we use to base these things on, you can look for the pyramid text. The pyramid text we have found has the creation story, which is in Genesis, and they're almost identical with a few minor changes. And so we use that to help understand this. So again, if this doesn't resonate with you, you don't desire to know anything more than what you know and what you've been using, then don't do this research with a neutral mind. But if you desire truth and if you desire actual origins of beliefs, do your own research and let us know what you all think and comment. Please be kind. We're not going to be nasty or disrespectful towards you all. And if you are saying that you are a spiritual person, then we definitely expect for you to be able to communicate how you feel without being disrespectful or coming off as rude or causing disunity, which is the issue itself. And a true spiritual person is not someone who's going to have those characteristics. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you heard something in this decoding that you didn't hear anywhere else. And be sure to email us, cam2479@gmail.com, if you want to connect with us personally. Not yet. We're going to start a new email list soon because we know where we're going with our spiritual journey is going a different direction than what we expected. We did not expect to have to learn metaphysics, which is just the science behind what makes spirituality work. That's all it is, the mechanisms that make the spiritual things that we do work. That's what we're studying now. And so that's not the same thing as Hebrew Israelite. And so if you joined our channel for that and you're comfortable staying there and you don't want to go anywhere else in your knowledge, then this may not be the channel for you moving forward. If you're still interested, maybe you don't have to make decisions. You're kind of on the fence and you're just watching and learning. We're going to give you all the new email very soon so you can be put on that list if you would like to continue the journey in true spirituality with us. All right, y'all. I know we said we would do some questions. Drop them down below and we're going to go through them and we'll be sure to reply and comment to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Was that everything, babe?
That was everything.
Good. Awesome.
Yep.
We did good. And now the phone is about to die, but we made it through.
Yep.
All right, people. Blessings,
right.
blessings, blessings.
Peace.